Courtney. Welcome back to our Holiday Traditions baking series. Today we're going to do a couple of candies for you, including a Peppermintbark and a heathbarcandy or traditional English toffee candy. These are great giveaway options for your neighbors or coworkers, and we hope you really enjoy these recipes. Let's start with some supplies. For this recipe, the Peppermintbark recipe, you're going to need a rolling pin and a plastic bag, a spreader, a baking sheet with some kind of liner in it. I just use my Silpat mats, but you could use parchment paper, wax paper, those would work fine. You'll need a knife and a cutting board to chop up the chocolates that you'll be using. I've already done that portion, so I don't have that out, but you'll need that. And then just bowls to keep everything in. It kind of helps keep things organized so they're in easy reach. And the microwave. I buy the chocolate melts that can go directly in the microwave, so you don't have to have a double boiler, although you could heat these on a double boiler if you wanted to. And I choose to do the chocolate melts over other types of chocolate because I don't have to add anything to them to get them to firm up the way I want later. Okay, let's talk ingredients for this recipe. You'll need 1 package of milk chocolate melts, 1 package of the white chocolate melts, and I've chopped these up into smaller pieces so that they melt down a little more quickly. 1 package of the peppermint candies, and I use a couple tablespoons of the candied bead decorations like you'd use on Christmas cookies. All right, let's get started. First, we're going to take our milk chocolate melts and we're going to get those in the microwave. We're going to microwave them about a minute at a time, stirring in between until it's smooth. I'm going to get those in the microwave and then we're going to come back and crush these candies. All right, while that microwave is going, we're going to get these candies crushed up. These are going to go onto the top of that Peppermintbark right before we finish them off. They're so pretty, and this is one of those easy candies that you can put into little containers to go out to coworkers or friends, and they just look special. They look pretty and neat. We're going to pour those into a Ziploc container bag. This is also where you can get a little of your aggressions out. With a heavy rolling pin, just crush them into pieces. Roll it maybe too, but I find that crushing it this way works best. You can see how big the pieces are. And like I said, you get all your holiday frustrations out. All right, our candies are crushed. We're just gonna set those aside now until the end. First minute's done. Let's get that chocolate melted and I'll be back with you here in just a moment. Okay, our chocolate is out of the microwave. It took about 2 minutes to get it melted completely. You want to make sure that there's no large chunks in there. And in the meantime, I've gotten the white chocolate put into the microwave. We're just going to pour this into our pan on our nonstick mat and spread it out evenly. Kind of a pro tip on this. You want to make sure whatever container you're using to melt your chocolate in is completely dry. You don't want any moisture in that bowl because it will cause your chocolate to seize up and get gritty. I'm just going to spread this out evenly. The 2 layers of this candy make it just so lovely and pretty. And those chocolate melts melt so evenly and nice and shiny. So we've got our first layer of chocolate here all set. We're going to pop this into the refrigerator to set up while we finish melting our white chocolate chips. And then we'll get the next layer on. Okay, our chocolate just came out of the freezer. It is well set up and we're just going to add our white chocolate layer now to the top. Again, make sure your white chocolate is nice and smooth with no big lumps. Pour it right onto that milk chocolate layer and spread it out evenly. This is one of those quick, easy recipes that looks like you took some real time on it. once you've got that evenly coated over the whole tray, then we're going to add our candy topping and make it really pretty. And you want to do this before it sets up for obvious reasons. The candy wants to stick to the top of it, and if you harden it up too much beforehand, it won't stick. So I'm just going to sprinkle those candies on there pretty generously. It's really pretty. That light peppermint flavor complements the chocolate really nicely. And it just looks so festive and pretty. You could stop right here just with the peppermint candies, but I like to add those little candy beads also. Give it one more little festive touch. Just a little sprinkling over the whole thing. All right, that whole thing is going to go right back into the freezer to get set up, and then we'll cut it into chunks here in a little bit. While that peppermint bark is in the freezer setting up, let's get started on our heathbarcandy. This recipe doesn't include a lot of ingredients, and it takes a little patience, but it's otherwise a pretty easy recipe to put together, and I think you'll love it. Let's start with supplies. You'll need a baking sheet lined with parchment paper, a spreader, a small saucepan, and a candy thermometer. The candy thermometer is very important. You can buy them inexpensively at most grocery stores. Let's talk about ingredients. You'll need 1.5 cups of butter, 1.5 cups of sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of white corn syrup, some crushed pecans, 1/4 cup of water, and some miniature semi-sweet chocolate chips. Just one package is fine. All right, let's get started. We are here at the stove. We brought over our butter, sugar, corn syrup, and water. And we're gonna start with that 1.5 cups of butter. This doesn't have to be softened butter. We're gonna melt it down here in our pan. I've got the pan set to a medium-high setting. We may turn that down to a medium setting as we go here in just a moment, but we're going to start there and get this butter melted. All right, you want your butter to be completely melted. There's still some chunks in here, so we're just waiting for those to melt down. Almost there. I think we got it. The last little chunk feels like it's gone. All right, so now we're gonna add our remaining ingredients. So this is 1.5 cups of sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of white corn syrup, and 1/4 cup of water. We're gonna whisk that all together. Get that sugar melted down. And then we're gonna allow this to cook on a medium heat. We're gonna turn it down just a little until our thermometer reads 305 degrees. That's the hard crack temperature. And this will really bubble and get nice and golden brown. You want to stir it periodically to keep it from burning to the bottom of the pan, of course. And you want to make sure that you have your baking sheet with your parchment paper ready to go, because once this hits that 305, we're going to take it right to that baking sheet and pour it out immediately, so that we can get it spread thin and ready for the chocolate. Okay, at this stage we're at about 225 degrees, Fahrenheit, and it's starting to get this beautiful golden color. It will get more and more of a dark caramel color as it cooks, and that's exactly what you want. But just kind of move it around the pan once in a while to keep it from burning and sticking at the bottom. And don't overheat it. You know, to get it to that 305, you're gonna wanna kind of rush it. Don't rush it, it will get there. Candy making takes time. Okay, we've now gotten to a little over 275, and it's gonna go pretty quick now up to 305. So we're gonna stir it again. You're starting to see that caramel color coming out of it. It's definitely clinging more to the whisk than it had before. And I will mention too that if you have kids helping in the kitchen, this recipe probably isn't a great one to have kids helping with, just because this mixture is incredibly hot. And if they were to get it on them or spill it, it would most certainly create quite a bad burn. So this one is maybe an adults only kind of option for Christmas baking, but well worth the effort if you have the time to put it in. Almost to 300, our goal is 305. I feel like you wait and wait and wait for it to get up over 250, and then all of a sudden it just goes and it's super hot and ready. Just keeping a close eye on that temperature. You can see it getting a little pillowy. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Okay, we are very close to 300. And we're going to be taking this off of the heat here at 305. So the next time you'll see me, we'll be bringing it over to our pan to pour it out and finish topping it off. Okay, our mixture has gotten to 305. We're going to pour it out into our pan here now. Perfect. Remember, that is very hot mixture right there, so you don't want to get that on you. And we're going to take our spreader and spread this out. And it's going to harden pretty quickly, so you do have to move kind of quick with this part of it. You want it to be kind of evenly spread in the pan. Bubbles are great. You don't want to shake the bubbles out of it. Those kind of add to the texture of the candy. No need to worry about those. Push a little more toward this corner. You just kind of want it to even out. Well, that was very helpful. A blooper there, I guess. All right. Once you have that on there, you don't want it to cool completely. You're going to add your chocolate chips, and the heat of the candy is going to melt the chocolate chips to the top. So we're just going to sprinkle our chocolate chips right on top. This is going to help them stick to the caramel and heat up to where we can spread them out. Rotate it here just because it's easier for me to manage. Just want that chocolate evenly spread over that toffee candy. Perfect. All right, once you get that all spread on there, you're going to add some chopped pecans all over the top. Just sprinkle them over. Perfect. So pretty. This was always one of my favorite holiday candies, and it was one that kind of, sometimes it made it to the party and sometimes it didn't. It was one I was always looking for. It was just kind of one of those candies that made me feel like the holidays were here. All right. I think that is all we need right there. So we're going to let this harden. I'm going to pop this one in the freezer, and while this one is getting set up, we are going to cut our peppermint bark. Okay, our peppermint bark is out of the freezer. We're just going to transfer it on this Silpat mat right on over to our cutting board. Loosen that off of there. These mats are fantastic. They are completely non-stick. Right onto my cutting board there. And then we're just gonna cut this into sections. You can like break it up into pieces, but I kind of like this one a little more exact than some of the other candies. All right, we've got that all cut up, and now you can see how absolutely beautiful this layered candy is. Perfect holiday treat to put into your baskets for your family, friends, coworkers, neighbors. A nice little holiday treat. Okay, it's been a couple minutes. Our heathbarcandy has been set up in the freezer, nice and firm. We're going to take it off of that parchment paper and onto the cutting board. And then just like with our peppermint bark, we're just going to take a knife and break this up. On the heathbarcandy. It's like I said, the chocolate's still a little gooey, but you can see that beautiful heath candy underneath with the chocolate topping and those pecans. It is so delicious. You're gonna love it. I'm gonna pop this one back in the fridge again to get that chocolate nice and set, and then we'll package everything up to go out to our friends and neighbors. I hope you enjoyed this, some of my favorite candies. I've got more coming in the Holiday Baking Tradition series, and I can't wait to share. So stay tuned, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps our little channel grow, and we'll see you next time.